What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today I want to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the data points, what some of the latest articles are saying about SoFi, and where I see things going from here. Before again telling you that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So based on Friday, it did go down 0.23%. A lot of volatility as normal, and a lot of eyes are on it though. So 15.06 million shares being traded, 21 is the average. So it is a little bit lower than the average, but obviously Fridays typically are like that. These are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market, over $100,000 just to note. And even if you take this information, compare it to this time last month, the frequency is just not even comparable. So that's something as well. So big money is kind of taking a step back. I don't know if there's broader issues or concerns on a larger scale that people are worried about, not necessarily SoFi related, or potentially it could be, because there's a lot of articles that are coming out saying that SoFi in reality has really proven themselves with a lot of their numbers, their growth, but the market's not really giving it much respect. Over the last little bit, yes, there's been some pretty good analyst ratings that have been coming down the pipeline. So I think analysts are starting to warm up to SoFi a little bit more, but still in comparison, if you are looking at the PS ratio, it's still considered a pretty deep discount in comparison to a lot of stocks. But like I said, and this article does say that the market's just not giving it much respect, and you just have to anticipate that there's going to be a lot of volatility, because as I've mentioned in the past, when it comes down to SoFi, it's trying to be a disruptor and an innovative company in one of the oldest sectors to the stock market. So when it comes down to that aspect, like, you are going to have a very bumpy ride. And this is why as well, initially, a lot of analysts just seem to have hated SoFi, and we're giving $3 price targets. So Wedbush, I have no idea why Wedbush hasn't really updated their rating from 2 months ago. But still, David can enjoy his 36% success rating. But when it comes down to it, like I said, some optimistic articles that do believe in SoFi bigger picture versus some other articles right here that are bringing up some negatives. And of course, I think this kind of was mixed as far as, I don't know, that's just me being a little bit more optimistic. But when the CTO, Jeremy, did sell some of his shares on September the 1st, so roughly about 53,000 or 54,000 shares, transaction code S, not necessarily the best. So especially when it comes down to a lot of the insiders selling at very pivotal points on the technicals, it just doesn't help by any means. So this article does bring up the fact that Anthony has not bought since looks like May, give or take. I'll touch on that in a second, but basically Anthony likes to buy between the $4 to $5 range. So that might be a very sweet deal, but at these prices, maybe not so much, especially if you do piggyback with what Jeremy did buy. And even more so if you look at Jeremy per se, that seems to be his kind of situation. Once again, I don't know why he might need the money. Everyone is completely different, but this kind of seems like something he constantly does. He does exercise some of his shares or his options, and then he pays taxes, then he sells. Seems to be a very common occurrence. I don't know, once again, if that's for whatever specific purpose, but this does not look good, especially at these prices. And as of right now, it's just been wedge bound between the 50 and 100-day moving average. So the technicals could go either way right now. So if it does break below this 100-day moving average, then yes, you can anticipate the low sevens, possibly. So once again, it's kind of on a very pivotal point right now based on the technicals. So I'll touch on all that in a second. But as far as this, what is your take on Anthony not buying over the last little bit? I know it sucks, because Anthony buying is more now being seen as a standard versus a luxury. So you can kind of see in May of 2023, he did use transaction code P, so he did buy a ton of shares, but at the same time, now people are assuming that. So the fact that he hasn't bought anytime recently, it's just, I don't know, it just sucks in reality. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below as well. What's your take on Jeremy essentially selling some shares? I think it's roughly about 25% of their portfolio, but let me know your thoughts on all that in the comments below. When it comes down to options, based on Friday, there was right here $891,000 in puts being purchased versus 3.41 million in calls being purchased. So based on this information, people are assuming that it is going to trend higher, because like I mentioned, it's just a fine line right here. If it can actually break above this, then it's going to go up very, very fast. But if you are optimistic and looking at calls, so based on this information, this shows all the strike prices, expiry dates. It is anticipated to go between the $8.50 to $9 range by the end of next week. So like I said, still kind of within range as of right now, but vice versa, looking at puts though, if you are kind of looking at this, some people are assuming worst case scenario, it'll be around the $7 range by the end of next week. So let me know your thoughts on that. Options activity is just merely a sentiment. It doesn't move the stock price at all. As far as dark pool transactions, it was very popular once again on Friday, no different than any other day. Some people don't like that because it is linked to shorting. So I'll give you an overview of what that is happening or what shorts are doing. Short score is currently 55, utilization is 23.1%. And as I've said in the past, I don't see SoFi being a squeeze at all. Just bring this up merely as a sentiment. But based on Friday, actually no real activity. So they did return 3,000 shares, so kind of a drop in the bucket. 12.83% of the free float's being shorted. 103.47 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow is just completely pennies. And looking at the interactive brokers short availability, there's a ton of shares. So if shorts really wanted to double down on SoFi, they would. So I think a lot of people, even institutions, like I said, are taking a step back and just watching SoFi because just to watch the technicals, because if it does break above this, then yes, big things are going to be coming. If vice versa, if it breaks below this, then yes, unfortunately, it might be trending down a little bit more. So once again, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But even like I mentioned on previous videos, looking at the PS ratio, this is despite everything and what is offered, it's actually at a pretty significant discount compared to a lot of the other brick and mortar banks. So once again, I think that might be a fairly good thing. And plus, even better yet, if you do compare SoFi to a lot of the other fintechs, it is a significant discount. So in this video, you kind of have mixed data points. So all I'm doing is listing them for you guys to interpret. And I think in general, based on the technicals, this is why a lot of them are kind of neutral and mixed. So you do have big money taking a step back. You have options, just kind of very much optimistic. You have shorts that are kind of still similarly to big money. They're just watching right now. And when it comes down to just this, you also see it at a significant discount. So it's kind of all over the place. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But as far as some points to really watch for, with it being at $8.55, it is currently trading between this S1 and the pivot. So roughly around $7.99 is a very strong support. $9.22 is that next big resistance. So kind of goes back to that point once again that there's going to be a lot of volatility because this gap is fairly wide, and as well you kind of don't have any definitive trend right now, so it's very neutral. And looking as far as this, stochastic is currently at 62, and a little bit more of a bearish sentiment based on this, but despite all of this, number of retail investors have been getting in, so they like the discount because I think based on the last couple of earnings, SoFi's trend has just been absolutely amazing. So they're definitely doing a lot of good things. Just based on this one article, they're just not getting much respect from the actual broader market. So it's not going to be a smooth, bumpy ride as what a lot of people always like. But that's kind of the name of the game, right? Let me know your thoughts on all this. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, hopefully everyone's having an amazing weekend thus far, and let's all make a ton of money on SoFi.